I don't know if he ever studied acting anywhere or not. And he's ambitious about it. You know, he wants to entertain.
He doesn't throw tantrums. He doesn't raise his voice. Howard just observes, then decides. And when an actor crosses the line, that decision never changes.
This piece of crap's going straight to DVD.
For over 50 years, Ron Howard has been Hollywood's steady hand, shaping dramas, thrillers, and biopics that defined generations. From Apollo 13 to A Beautiful Mind, his calm presence became legendary. But even the calmest director has limits. Behind closed doors, Howard has faced actors who tested his patience so badly that he swore never to work with them again. The one who ignored direction, the one who mocked the process, the one who turned the set into a battlefield. He doesn't work with ego, he works with focus. The Paper, Cocoon, The Missing, Frost/Nixon. His films thrive on control, every scene carefully shaped, every performance fine-tuned. But when an actor breaks that balance, Howard doesn't bend. He shuts the door, for good. And when an actor pushes him that far, when trust is shattered, there's no second chance. What's left isn't collaboration, it's silence.
He had the talent to carry it off, but, I wasn't 100% convinced.
Howard has worked with hundreds, but only a few left such a scar that he refuses to let them back in. Here are the 5 actors Ron Howard never forgave, no matter the role, no matter the fame. Number 1. Wilford Brimley. Some directors find collaborators. Howard found a challenger. When Ron Howard cast Wilford Brimley in Cocoon, 1985, he expected a steady professional with a rugged presence. What he got was a force of nature who pushed back against nearly every convention of how Howard liked to shoot. Brimley's plain-spoken delivery gave the film its emotional soul, but behind the camera, he could be stubborn, blunt, and unafraid to question the young director's methods. Brimley once pushed back, saying, "We don't need all this coverage, just let me play it." For Howard, coverage meant safety, extra angles to shape the film in the edit. For Brimley, it was wasted energy. He preferred a single take that felt alive. That difference created real tension. Howard would carefully plan his shots, and Brimley would insist on throwing the plan out the window. One moment that proved unforgettable was the fishing scene between Brimley and the boy playing his grandson. Howard had scripted it tightly, but Brimley wanted it loose. He convinced Howard to roll cameras without sticking to the words, and what came out was raw, funny, and deeply human. Howard later admitted that the improvisation turned into one of Cocoon's defining scenes.
We'll never be sick, we won't get any older, and we won't ever die.
But that wasn't the only clash. Brimley openly questioned Howard's authority, once telling him, "They're not going to let you control it anyway. You're young." Howard bristled at the remark but didn't back down. Instead, he shot the close-ups, finished the film on his terms, and proved he could command a project even against resistance. The experience toughened him, forcing him to trust his instincts while still learning from Brimley's raw spontaneity. The truth is, Brimley thrived on challenge. He didn't memorize scenes word for word, he wanted to live inside them. He would only give Howard 1 or 2 takes, but when he did, the result had weight and honesty. It was difficult, yes, but also electric. Brimley once told him, "I'll give you the heart of it, but only once. Don't waste it." Howard didn't always enjoy the battles, but he never dismissed the value of what Brimley delivered. He later credited him with moments of pure authenticity that no script could have forced. Even years later, when discussing the film, Howard admitted the friction wasn't easy, but said it shaped him into a stronger director who trusted both his instincts and his actor's impulses. Wilford Brimley wasn't easy. He wasn't predictable. But for Ron Howard, he was proof that even the hardest personalities can leave you with scenes that last forever. Number 2. Bill Murray. Some actors chase order, Murray chases lightning. Ron Howard builds films with precision. Prep, coverage, options in the edit. Bill Murray works on instinct. He'll show up, rewrite energy in the room, and chase the version that feels alive in the moment. That clash in approach explains something simple and factual. The two have never teamed up on a feature, even as each dominated different corners of the same decades. Howard favors predictability. Murray thrives on surprise. Murray has long kept his career deliberately unstructured. He famously took calls through a phone line instead of an agent, answered when he felt like it, and chose projects only when they stirred him. In interviews, he put it plainly, "I don't have a manager. I don't have an agent. That independence can be inspiring and hard on directors who rely on schedules and control. Howard, known for calm sets and extensive coverage, would be asking for takes and angles. Murray might be intent on capturing it once and moving on. The gap isn't about talent, it's about temperament. The industry also knows Murray for legendary highs and real conflicts. During Groundhog Day, his relationship with director Harold Ramis fell apart, later mended only near the end of Ramis's life. Ramis once described that stretch bluntly. He was irrationally mean and unavailable. Stories like that travel. They become caution lights for directors who value stability. Howard is one of those directors. He manages pressure by keeping the work collaborative and steady, avoiding drama that can derail a shooting day. When he speaks about leading a set, he emphasizes trust, communication, and a plan that protects the edit. None of that squares easily with Murray's legendary spontaneity. There were other widely reported flare-ups around Murray, publicized disagreements with co-stars or directors that he has addressed over the years. Richard Dreyfuss, who made What About Bob? With Murray, directed by Frank Oz, later recalled their friction in stark terms. He was a drunken bully. Those accounts don't define Murray's entire career. He's delivered iconic work from Ghostbusters to Lost in Translation, but they help explain why a meticulous filmmaker like Howard might keep his distance. It's not scandal, it's self-preservation for a director whose films depend on carefully planned coverage and quiet collaboration.
You know, it's not that he was throwing fits and kicking over C-stands and, throwing boxes around or anything.
So the space between them isn't mysterious. It's a choice. Murray runs on volatility, Howard runs on control. Both methods can make great cinema. Together, though, the fit has never made sense. And that, more than anything, is why their paths never crossed on set. Number 3. Chevy Chase. Some actors bring calm. Chase brings chaos and brilliance in the same breath. Ron Howard builds order, prep, coverage, options in the edit. Chevy Chase built a career on the opposite. Sudden choices, sharp left turns, comedy that lives in the first take. That mismatch is real, and it's one reason the two have never paired on a feature. Howard values a steady tempo. Chase is a live wire. Chase exploded on Saturday Night Live as the first weekend update anchor. His swaggering opener became a cultural stamp, a line that announced both the joke and the persona he was selling. I'm Chevy Chase, and you're not. That confidence powered a run through Caddyshack, Fletch, and National Lampoon's Vacation. But the same edge also led to infamous clashes. On Community, longtime reports described friction with creator Dan Harmon and castmates, from heated arguments to walk-offs. Chase later addressed his time there with mixed feelings. The set did not fit his style, and the relationship fractured until he exited before the 5th season. For a director who keeps sets calm, those headlines read like warning lights. Chase has explained that even his most famous line came from instinct rather than planning. In a later reflection on its origin, he said it wasn't crafted in a writer's room so much as discovered on the fly. I said it totally spontaneously. That spontaneity is thrilling on screen and demanding behind it. Howard's approach invites improvisation inside a clear plan. He still needs the angles to shape a scene later. Chase, by contrast, often wants lightning once and to move on. It's easy to see why a meticulous director might decide the chemistry just isn't there. The Community years added more fuel. Co-star Joel McHale recalled a boxing scene that went sideways because Chase kept pushing for realism, even at personal risk. McHale said Chase asked him to throw a real punch, and the moment ended badly. He wanted me to punch him as hard as I could. To a producer, that kind of escalation isn't just a story, it's a scheduling nightmare. Howard's film sets are known for calm leadership and clear communication. He avoids anything that drains the day.
You under the covers right now? Did you shower?
Chevy Chase is a singular talent with timing you can't teach, but he is also famously headstrong. For Ron Howard, who protects the edit, the clock, and the crew, that mix has always looked like a risk not worth taking. Number 4. Russell Crowe. Some actors follow direction. Crowe wrestles with it. When Ron Howard cast Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind, he wasn't hiring a star. He was trusting an actor who thrived on intensity. Crowe prepared obsessively, shaping Nash with layers of silence and sudden bursts of emotion. Howard even kept the real John Nash at a distance, saying, "I was not eager for them to meet." Howard feared imitation. He wanted Crowe to create a character, not a copy. The gamble worked. Crowe's performance gave the film its fragile heartbeat and carried it to the Academy Award for Best Picture. Their partnership grew on Cinderella Man. Crowe trained relentlessly, even through injuries, to embody boxer James Braddock. He threw himself into the grit of the Depression-era story, pushing for bruises, sweat, and exhaustion that looked painfully real. Howard, a director who thrives on meticulous planning, admired the effort, but also had to manage the weight of Crowe's relentless drive. The energy could be inspiring, but it was demanding on everyone around him. Howard later reflected that Crowe was one of those actors whose brilliance sometimes only appeared in the editing room. He admitted, "You may not recognize a nuance in the moment. That meant patience, trusting that even when scenes felt difficult, the performance would unfold later in the cut." It was a different kind of challenge for Howard, who usually depends on clarity during production. But Crowe's intensity wasn't confined to the set. After the BAFTAS in 2002, he made headlines for confronting a producer about cutting his speech. Crowe addressed it afterward with candor, saying, "I got a little hot under the collar." Incidents like that highlighted the divide. Howard is calm, measured, and conflict-averse. Crowe is fiery, direct, and unafraid of confrontation. On screen, the tension made magic. Behind the camera, it made every day unpredictable.
I believe I'm making progress.
The results speak for themselves. 2 acclaimed films, both showcasing Howard's steady hand and Crowe's raw intensity. Yet they never reunited again. Not because the collaboration failed, but because their styles pulled in opposite directions. Russell Crowe gave Ron Howard performances that still resonate decades later. But he also gave him a reminder. Brilliance sometimes arrives wrapped in volatility, and not every director has the patience to live through the storm twice. 5. Shia LaBeouf. Some performers stay safe. LaBeouf jumps without a net. Ron Howard is known for order. Calm sets, careful coverage, stories shaped in the edit. Shia LaBeouf has built a reputation for the opposite, unfiltered honesty, and performances that feel unstable by design. They've never worked together, and it's not surprising. Their approaches pull in opposite directions. Coming off Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, LaBeouf shocked Hollywood with his candor. Instead of celebrating the blockbuster, he admitted he'd let people down. He told reporters, "I dropped the ball on the legacy that people loved and cherished." For an actor at the center of a billion-dollar franchise, that kind of self-criticism was rare, but LaBeouf didn't stop there. He made it clear that excuses weren't his style, saying, "You can blame it on the writer, and you can blame it on Steven. But the actor's job is to make it come alive, and I couldn't do it." Those words echoed everywhere. Co-stars defended the film, but LaBeouf's reputation shifted. Studios saw talent wrapped in volatility. Directors who prized steady collaboration, like Howard, had even more reason to keep their distance.
There was one that's, far more difficult.
Then, in 2016, LaBeouf spoke about Spielberg, who had produced Indiana Jones. Fans expected reverence, but LaBeouf described Spielberg less as an artist, more as a machine of Hollywood. He said, "You realize you're not meeting the Spielberg you dream of. He's less a director than a company." It was classic LaBeouf, raw, unfiltered, and guaranteed to spark headlines. Howard, who avoids public feuds and builds films on trust, would see that as a flashing red light. Where Howard nurtures silence, LaBeouf thrives on confession. The contrast is obvious. Howard values quiet authority and trust on set. LaBeouf thrives on disruption and honesty, even if it burns bridges. In interviews since, LaBeouf has admitted to personal struggles and publicly apologized for behavior tied to addiction. That honesty won him sympathy, but it also reminded studios that unpredictability came with the package, and yet there's no denying his ability. From Fury to Honey Boy, LaBeouf's screen presence proves he can give performances that cut deeper than most. It's the same intensity that makes directors nervous and audiences unable to look away. For Ron Howard, though, the calculation is simple. His films run on trust, rhythm, and discipline. LaBeouf's firepower may light up the frame, but the storm behind it is a cost Howard has never been willing to pay. And in Howard's world, protecting the set always outweighs chasing the chaos of a gamble. Ron Howard didn't slam doors, he didn't yell across the set. He just closed his notebook, gave a calm smile, and quietly decided you'd never be back. Some actors lost him with chaos, others with ego, but these 5, they had talent. What they lacked was discipline. The steadiness Howard demands when he builds a film from the ground up. Without it, the whole vision collapses before the cameras even roll. And once you burned that bridge with him, you weren't just skipped for casting, you were erased from the shortlist forever, and Howard never looked back. So who do you think almost ended up on Howard's private do not call list, or maybe should have? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want early access to more stories from behind Hollywood's calmest, and sometimes coldest, director's chair, like, subscribe, and join the channel for member-only deep dives. Because in Ron Howard's world, forgiveness doesn't buy you a second chance. It only reminds him why he said no the first time, and why that answer will never, ever change.